This is Andy Gutierrez from StarWars.com, and you are listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This is Vanessa Marshall, Harrison Dula from Star Wars Rebels, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to Coffee with Kenobi, show number 363. We are your spoiler-free place for Star Wars discussion, analysis, and rhetoric. I'm your host, Dan Z, drinking One Nation coffee out of my Coffee with Kenobi coffee mug, the original logo with the orange and light blue from 2014. Thrilled to talk Star Wars with you. Today, we're going to talk about Star Wars Squadrons with special guests Andrew Harrison and Ross Hollebon. So pull up a chair, grab your favorite coffee mug, and let's have some coffee with Kenobi.
So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first.
Joining me today for a cup of coffee are two Star Wars video game experts and just all-around great guys. First, we're going to bring in returning guest Ross Hollebon.
Hey, Dan, how are you?
I'm doing well, my friend. How about you?
Everything is wonderful. We've got new video games. We got more books, more toys. Everything's coming out, including a really cool book on the 20th.
Oh, really? You talking about the lightsaber book?
Yeah, or something that you might have been involved with.
Oh, very good. Yes. Well, thank you for the plug. I appreciate that. Hopefully, I put enough stamps on the check that's going to come your way. We'll find out. Very good. Well, also joining us is first-time guest on Coffee with Kenobi, Andrew Harrison.
Hey, Dan. Hey, Ross. Excited to be here, ready to talk about some video games and see how they hold up these days.
Yes, indeed. So let's kind of set the stage. Star Wars Squadrons is the newest Star Wars video game to come out. The premise is essentially it's a space combat game, and of course it's got a story mode. We've got dogfight mode. We've got different fleet battles. We've got a lot of stuff going on. But gentlemen, this is a first for me on Coffee with Kenobi. I am going to talk about something that I've not experienced, read, or played. I'm completely, as my 7-year-old is suddenly saying, a noob about this. So I'm going to rely on the both of you. And here's your job tonight, Ross and Andrew. Your job is to convince me why I need to purchase this game and how it adds to Star Wars lore, which you know I'm a huge sucker about. So, Andrew, we're going to start with you, as you are a first-time guest on Coffee with Kenobi. Sort of give us, I guess, your history with Star Wars and video games.
Sure. I remember the first Star Wars video game I played, fittingly for tonight's discussion, was Star Wars X-Wing. The number of hours that I spent on my parents' computer playing Star Wars X-Wing is probably it'd probably be embarrassing if I had actually logged the amount of hours that I spent playing that game. And ever since then, I've made it my goal to basically play every single Star Wars game that has ever come out. I'm a big Star Wars collector, and one of my collecting focuses is Star Wars video games and video game themed paraphernalia. So action figures based on video game characters, video game books, all that kind of stuff as well. So that's a brief history of where I'm coming from on this.
Very good. Well, so yeah, you're a big collector too, which is one of the many reasons why we have Ross on. Anytime you can have Ross on is a good thing. And Ross, you do such a good job curating your Instagram, and you posted a picture of yourself the day this released wearing an X-Wing helmet. And that combined with, Andrew, I believe you started the thread in the CWK Cafe about Star Wars Squadrons. So I literally pulled up that thread, saw what the two of you had said, and I thought about Ross's picture, and I realized, well, that's what we're going to talk about this week, because I'm going to have Andrew and Ross on to talk about it. So Ross, give us your background on Star Wars and video games in your life.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely original trilogy ilk. So, I mean, it probably started with the Atari 2600 and those amazing graphics back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
You know, at the very least, Return of the Jedi, Death Star battle.
Yes.
You know, so whatever came out then, and you know, the amazing advances year over year until you get to, a Mario Brothers and a Zelda. And then, I probably disappeared from gaming for a while until Force Unleashed came out.
Wow.
And it was, it was the story that always brings me back. And I think that's where, I had an Xbox that was creatively acquired by someone that had broken into my house in Baltimore.
Oh, no.
and I didn't replace it because I was just like, I don't have time to play this anyway right now. But as Cal Kestis and his adventures came out with Jedi Fallen Order, I went and got a new Xbox because I was like, nope, I'm not missing this. So it was kind of a rebirth a little bit recently, but it's something that I've always been involved in and followed closely. And then it even goes kind of deeper. The author, Daniel Pink, definitely talks about in some of his books the importance of gaming, and especially for kids, to help problem solve and understand things. So that's fascinating to me as well.
So like you, and Andrew, you may be in the same boat. I go back to the Atari 2600, and that great The Empire Strikes Back game that really wasn't that great. You just basically keep flying into like this 8-bit. It was even 8-bit at the time. AT-AT, and you blast. There's no tow cables or harpoons, and you just kind of go to town. But it was fun, and then we get to the paddles with the Return of the Jedi lightsaber. And it was just a lot of crazy stuff. And then, of course, the Star Wars video games and the arcades. Was kind of where the first dogfight really came into focus. So it's gone through a lot of iterations. We've had the X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, the PC games, on and on. You mentioned the Force Unleashed and Cal Kestis and Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. And then we get this one. Now, Star Wars Battlefront 2 has been a big one at the Zera household. There have been a lot of iterations of this. So, Andrew, I'm going to throw it back to you. What is the story? What is the premise here of Star Wars Squadrons?
Well, it's there's a very brief prologue right after Alderaan. The interesting thing with this game is it bounces back and forth between the two factions, Rebels and Imperials. So you kind of get both sides of the story, which has been interesting. Full disclosure, I have not completed the game yet, so I don't know the complete story and how it unfolds, so don't have to worry about spoilers or anything.
Very good.
But then quickly jumps to right after Return of the Jedi, which is really interesting. It actually kind of folds into Alphabet Squadron Shadowfall. There's that section in the book where Hera goes off, and I'm pretty sure, I don't have any substantial proof of this, but I have a very strong feeling that that's what this mission is, because the book does talk about Vanguard Squadron, and that's the Rebel Squadron that you're flying with. So you take on basically a new recruit in both the Imperial Squadron and the Rebel Squadron. And they're both battling each other throughout the game, and the bouncing back and forth has been really interesting because you get both sides of the story, which is something you don't often get in video games, especially Star Wars games.
Well, and that's almost like a thing now with the Netflix Karate Kid series, isn't it, where you get the different perspectives?
Right.
That's kind of a neat little twist. Ross, would you want to add anything to that? That was a really good description, and I like that it ties into some of the novels, and that is, of course, an important aspect of the recent Star Wars canonical turn. I don't know how recent it is anymore, but they all seem to connect and intertwine. And what do you think?
Yeah, I think Andrew did a great job summing that up. I think it can go even further with what they did with Alphabet Squadron and the comic books that went, the TIE Fighter comic books that went along with it, where you were bouncing back and forth. So you have it's a limited 5-series run, but you're getting the vantage point of the Imperials that are on the run and trying to figure out what's going on. So I mean, there's ties into Aftermath. There's ties. It's just a wonderful Lucasfilm storytelling smorgasbord of, hey, we can do all of these things, and we have so many ways to tell it right now. And I think it's great that it allows a lot more diversity in characters. So it really isn't, you're not playing with any of the big name characters. These are all pilots that you don't really know, and you're getting to choose who you're flying with and, you know, what ships you are flying. But I think as Andrew discussed about kind of jumping back and forth from the good guys to the bad guys, I would have been a dead Imperial really quick. The TIE fighters
You and me both
are tough.
Well,
I
so
like my shields.
yeah, well, that's the real twist, I guess, to this sort of thing. It's well known in Star Wars lore that TIE fighters are known for their speed, and basically they are disposable, but they don't have shields. So that does come into play in the video game, if I understand you correctly, Andrew.
Yeah. There's if you're familiar with the old X-Wing game, there's some very familiar gameplay aspects to it. In that game, you could when you're flying your X-Wing, you could boost your shields, you could boost your engines, you could boost your lasers, and you get to do the same thing here. But with the TIE fighter, you're only boosting your engines and you're boosting your lasers. There are no shields, so it's. I will come right out and say that I am not good when I have to fly a TIE fighter. I am very, very bad at flying TIE fighters because it's a balancing act between maneuverability and speed. If you go really fast, you can't maneuver as well. So you have to then drop your speed in order to evade, but that allows the rebels to then catch up to you and hit you with more lasers, I have found. So it's definitely a balancing act, and there's a learning curve to it, to be sure.
So Ross, when you're, and either of you, I guess, can answer this, but Ross, we'll start with you. When you're maneuvering the TIE fighter, now, am I correct that there are different ways to control this? You can buy, like, can you use virtual reality or something like that? Or is there a different way to control it?
Yeah, you can. I definitely don't have the virtual reality version, but you can do that. It is, and I've heard that that's pretty spectacular for the entire game to do it that way. I'm definitely not maybe as financially advanced to do that right now, but it is
financially advanced.
Starting the game in just the regular mode and getting used to one of the things that I do. I'm one of those people that even on my MacBook Pro, I do like the reverse swipes, and that's how I move the cursor and everything around. So people are like, doesn't that drive you nuts? So as I got in the cockpit of this and it was set to how like a laptop or a mouse would work, I was like, oh, all of this is backwards to me. And it was really frustrating. So I had to go in and change the settings so I could get to, okay, up actually means down and down means up. And there are, and I think especially as you're going on the TIE fighter, you're going in and you're getting alerts in the early section of turn left to change your power into this section of the ship. Press the right button to do this. And it is learning the cockpit, but that whole thing's in your hands and with the buttons available. And one is, if you just tap this, it does this. If you hold this, it does this. And as I'm crashing into everything with my TIE fighter, I'm just like, there's no tapping any of these things at this point.
I love that. So Andrew, I'm assuming you can relate to this.
Absolutely. Yes. The learning curve is pretty steep, but I feel like the early levels of the game do a really good job of teaching you everything. In fact, I feel like the story mode is almost like a beefed up tutorial to get you ready for multiplayer, because that's what teaches you what all the buttons do, how to maneuver the TIE fighter so you don't get supposedly shot as much as I do. And yeah, the controls. I am interested to know. So Ross, what are you playing on? Are you playing on PlayStation or
Xbox One?
Xbox, that's right. Yeah.
Yep.
So you're just using a regular Xbox controller?
I am.
Okay. Because I know you can also get actual flight sticks for the gaming systems, and I'm really wondering if that would be more intuitive than trying to use, the dual joysticks on a controller and all the different buttons that are at your disposal there.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean,
it is.
I'm thinking that Fisher Price little plaything that kids use, when you sit your little kid in it and you have the wheel and the different levers and stuff, like one of those would be great for me right now.
Yeah. Because I mean, that's how, when I played X-Wing and TIE Fighter, that's how I got a joystick for the computer. And so that trained me that, yes, up actually means down and down means up, because you pull back on the stick to go up and you push forward to go down. So yeah, I had to do the same thing and invert those axes.
So that's good to know that when you said Ross, it was backwards. I thought, oh geez, I'm gonna have to sit backwards to fix this. But no, you can just change the settings. So here's a question. Star Wars Squadrons, EA's YouTube channel on the official website for Star Wars Squadrons, there was a short that came out 3 weeks ago, and it was titled Star Wars Squadrons Hunted. It was about 6 minutes, 58 seconds long, and it basically took us through a dogfight where an X-Wing pursued a TIE down to the surface of a planet. I'm not really sure what planet it was. But is this what you're playing? Is this the characters you're playing, or how does that fit into what you've been telling me?
I think it gives you an idea of what's going there. I think you may have the opportunity to be that Imperial pilot. And I actually have that website up. I just figured that would come up from StarWars.com.
Oh, it's the Imperial Dockyard. Yeah, Varsha is the Imperial Dockyard.
Varsha Gray.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of interesting to see because it is, it's not romanticized at all. It is, gritty. Oh man, how am I going to survive this? Mm-hmm. And how do I get away? Okay, I just got in the short, you get away from the X-Wing pilot right as you're crashing into the water. And then it's, he's stuck on the edge. So it's not quite, I guess you get a little bit of that through the storytelling vantage point of the game. But I mean, once you're in the cockpit, you're looking out through it. And what was really cool is right at the beginning of the game, after they kind of guide you through some things, and Andrew talked about it being a tutorial a little bit. Once you get through, I think the first 1 or 2 checkpoints, you go into light speed. And it's just like they station you there, and you watch all the other ships go, and then you go, and the stars are coming at you, and it's just like,
that's cool.
That's awesome. That's why I'm playing the game.
Yeah, feels very Star Wars, for sure.
Right. I love that. Well, I tell you what, let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we're going to revisit this conversation through the lens of the rebellion. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
This is Vanessa Marshall, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
MEI and Mouse Fan Travel is your one-stop shop for your vacation needs and your plans to Walt Disney World, Disneyland, or the cruise lines. Travel looks much different now than it did a couple of months ago, and with the opening of Walt Disney World and soon, hopefully, the opening of Disneyland, you need a place to go where you can trust, and they will help you figure out and navigate all the different circumstances and guidelines that Disney has put out for you. And I can say that we had our vacation modified, and as soon as dates were announced, MEI contacted me directly to help me reschedule, which is exactly what I was hoping to do. So if you are interested in rescheduling your vacation or want to try to plan a Walt Disney World, Disneyland vacation, or anywhere else you want to go on the planet, be sure to contact MEI and Mouse Fan Travel at www.coffeewithkenobi.com/mousefantravel. Their signature service and expert advice will help you maximize your vacation time and dollar, and they will help you figure out all the different changes and modifications going on at the Disney theme parks. They are amazing, and I can tell you, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, the peace of mind that Becky Menken and the crew at MEI and Mouse Fan Travel have given me is invaluable. If you're interested at all, again, go to www.coffeewithkenobi.com/mousefantravel.
And now, let's see what's brewing in the Star Wars universe this week.
Oh, wait. This is interesting. You found something.
I'm about to let everyone in on the secret.
Before we continue our conversation with Ross and Andrew, Tom Gross is here to share the latest Star Wars news. Tom, how's it going?
Oh, it's going great. Can't be better. The weather is fantastic. I love the fall. So, and we've got so many things to look forward to and some news tonight that brings some excitement as well.
And yes, very, very, very true. All good points. And by the way, those of you who listen to CWK Pour Over and are members of the CWK Alliance, I received quite a few messages about people being tempted to try to take the spot of the CWK newsman because of the Huck Finn conversation. But everyone has agreed that there's no one that could replace you, and I agree.
Oh, well, that's very nice. And of course, I totally respect your thoughts. I'm just trying to tease here so we get people to want to hear what the heck I said about Huck Finn. It would get you so worked up. But it's just a matter of difference.
The unflappable Dan Z. What is it possible? All right, what's going on in the world of Star Wars?
Much fun. All right. Well, today on StarWars.com, they released the crawl for the Star Wars High Republic. So let me read it to you, and we can talk a little bit about this exciting news.
Yes.
It gives us some background on what's going on in the galaxy during the time of the High Republic. So here it is. The galaxy is at peace, ruled by the glorious Republic and protected by the noble and wise Jedi Knights. As a symbol of all that is good, the Republic is about to launch Starlight Beacon into the far reaches of the Outer Rim. This new space station will serve as a ray of hope for all to see. But just as magnificent renaissance spreads through the Republic, so does a frightening new adversary. Now the guardians of peace and justice must face a threat to themselves, the galaxy, and the Force itself.
What I like about this, I know, it makes it feel very real having a crawl, because we've sort of been under the impression that only the Skywalker saga is going to have a crawl. Now, naturally, all the comic books start with a crawl, but that has never really hit me in the same way, because it's just, it's fun, but it's just not the same thing. But this gives it much more of an epic scope, and this is very much the direction we had always known that it was going to go. But having it in this style, in this format, and we've also been under the impression that we're going to get a lot of news about some characters and things like that coming up very, very soon. So I tell you what, buddy, January can't get here soon enough as far as getting to read these books.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. I mean, this is a whole new chapter of a saga. I mean, it goes beyond the saga. And so, some things I really love about this is, this idea that the Jedi Knights are wise. We're coming from an era in the sequel trilogy where the Jedi Knights have been portrayed as bad guys, and people of the galaxy believe that. And so here we're flip-flopping it to this idea of that they are the knights of in shining armor, I suppose, especially when you look at the Starlight Beacon as sort of a symbolic message of hope. And what are they looking to, and what are they what hope is it that they're reaching for in the Outer Rim in this time period? So and then they so basically it's a time of peace, but then the last paragraph of this crawl definitely introduces a bit of conflict. 200 years prior to the events of the Phantom Menace. And so there's a lot of time in there for things that, there may be some, I I don't know. I don't know what to expect, except I know that the art is magnificent. I know that the authors that they have put together in with this Project Luminous are top notch. We're familiar with a lot of them because a lot of them are young adult authors or some crossover young adult authors. So, Justina Ireland and Claudia Gray and Charles Soule and Kevin Scott. I mean, these are the best and the brightest.
Yep.
And I just have no doubt that these are going to be magnificent stories.
And this is also going to give us when Obi-Wan says, "For 1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights are the guardians of peace and justice in the Old Republic." Well, this is it. I mean, it's called the New Republic, but this is where the Jedi legacy and lore is being fermented, and I love that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great, and this and this is just true Star Wars Lucasfilm fashion, where they just kind of trickle out little bits and pieces here and there, and we got the covers, and then we got some character sketches, and now we get this crawl, and I look forward to the next 2 months, 3 months, I suppose, to continue this slow drip of just tantalizing teasers to get us just all fired up for it. Because I tell you what, I am pumped for this, and I just can't wait. And I love the fact that a lot of it is young adult literature. So I'll be putting that into my library, not my library, our students' library, and we're just going to be loving every bit of it.
I love it. What else is going on?
So, we're going to stick in the same type of news where we turn pages, and StarWars.com this week released some images of the new Star Wars Leia, Princess of Alderaan manga book. This looks fantastic, and I know you'll give us a little bit about the story of Princess of Alderaan. I know you've talked about it, and in fact, I think didn't you do a book series on that the show?
For about a few months, we went through a certain 20, 30 pages a week and went through it. Yeah, it was a wonderful book. I love it. It's plus Claudia Gray writing Leia is about as good as it gets anyway, but it very much is a formation of her before she learns about the rebellion, and as she slowly starts to discover that her mother and father are up to something to help to separate from the Empire, and it shows her early history with Grand Moff Tarkin. It is a tremendous, tremendous book. I can't recommend it highly enough.
I knew that you loved this story, so when I saw that it was coming out in manga version, I was super excited about this because I love graphic novels, and I'm not a big avid manga reader, but there are several mangas that I have read, and there's something just a little different about the artwork that I think is magnificent and beautiful. And looking on StarWars.com at these images and the pages, and they've got some color images of Leia with her appears to be a protocol droid, handmaiden kind of protocol droid, and then you get some black and white images that appear to be flashbacks, and just some magnificent, magnificent art in this book. And I just can't wait to read this because I've not read Princess of Alderaan. And I'm looking at this one page, Dan, and you can confirm for me, is there indeed a sword as such in the story?
Yes, it doesn't play a huge role. It's more symbolic, but there's really nothing quite so spectacular as that cover. That cover with her taking that sword, very King Arthur-esque, and she looks beautiful in the way her hair is done. And, oh, man. I mean, when I saw that image, I thought, this is about the coolest Star Wars picture I'm ever going to see in my life. It's that good.
Yeah, on this page 18, it's the fourth page down on the StarWars.com preview. The image with her in the center of the page walking away, and the way her dress is flowing behind it is just, it looks like it moves almost as you're just reading through the page. It's great. The art on this appears to, I saw who it was, Haruchi. Art and adaptation just looks fantastic, and this is another one that I'm really looking forward to when it comes out soon. By the end of this month, this will be out, and this is another one that is a definite in my book. No pun intended, or maybe it was in my book. This is a definite must-have.
I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. There's a lot of good Star Wars books coming out in the month of October for sure.
There are. I'm aware of another one that comes out just 7 days before this.
Yeah.
This one. Would you like to do a self preview of that? I know you've talked about it on the show, but hey, we're getting closer. Is there anything else you can tell us about your book?
Well, at the time of this recording, we're 13 days away from release. I know it started going out to people who are going to review it. And I know it's already been published in the UK. And I think that is so exciting. But if you go on Amazon.com, there's an extensive preview of it on the actual, place where you can buy and pre-order this book. But it's got a lot of the full graphics, and it's a very, very special thing to be able to see this thing like this. And I'm still waiting for the all clear to be able to say things about it. So we're not quite there yet, but boy, are we close. And Coffee with Kenobi is going to have some really great stuff to help promote this book. I'm very excited about it. I can't wait for people to read it. It's so surreal to me to be a Star Wars author. And I'm hoping, and I think we can make this happen. I think besides the other stuff I plan, I think it'd be fun if you and I and Corey sat down and we just all talked about the book when I can say whatever I want.
Oh my goodness, that would be fantastic. And I got to get, so I can give a little insight into folks, because I not only as a fan of Star Wars am I excited for this book, whether I knew the author or not. Of course, this is the kind of book, DK puts out a great product, and all of those books are so popular with our students and with kids because of just the nature of a DK book is so visual, but being in that, I get to see one of the authors of this book on a daily basis. I just want to let everyone know that if you've never seen anyone that appears to be walking on clouds, I see that every day. I see that every day. Every morning you come around the corner, you walk down that ramp, and I swear you are light on your feet, my friend.
Well, I'm glad. I just got invited to a Halloween party. That's why, because I'm Charlie Brown. That's how I feel.
Okay, that's
yes.
it. Well, I've been attributing it to a book coming out soon.
No, it is. I can't wait. And I got to actually see, I have seen the book. I've held it in my hand, and it's very special. I can't wait to talk about that. It's very, very exciting.
Oh, my goodness. Well, that is fantastic. And so, yes, indeed, to follow up on your comment, there is lots of great literature coming out, whether it's October 20th, October 27th, or January. There's some fantastic Star Wars content coming out. Hey, let's move into the world of toys. In particular, the Hasbro HasLab Razor Crest. I know people have been watching this since it's been released, and the more backers it gets, the more items get released along the way. And so in just 12 days, the Hasbro HasLab Razor Crest has reached another stage. It has met 10,000 backers, and so now the child with Pram, now Pram, is that the little thingy that he's floating in?
Yes.
Okay, that is now unlocked and is going to become part of this this magnificent piece that they're releasing.
It's insane. I mean, this thing has gotten past 3 different sets of goals, so much more quickly than the Jabba's sail barge did a couple of years ago. And it continues to stun us. I mean, and I guess this Friday we're going to have Hasbro is on their YouTube channel is going to have we're going to actually get to see the model in person and get some more behind the scenes stuff of it, and it's great. And I'm hoping that these 33 days go by quickly, so I'm not tempted to buy it because I'm so tempted to pull the trigger and purchase this thing, but. It's so big and beautiful. I'm just not sure where I would put it in my studio because that's sort of my new guideline now. If I was going to get something, what would I pack up and into storage because it wouldn't be on display anymore? So I'm just not sure. But I mean, this thing really is absolutely gorgeous. Comes with now, besides the Razor Crest, the escape pod and 3 3/4 inch of the Mandalorian and of the child too. Is the only way you can get the child in this fashion. Amazing, absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some of this, the statistics here. Their goal was 6,000 backers, and they reached that in 27 hours.
Yes.
This item is priced at $349.99, and I'm not saying it in that manner because I don't think it's. I mean, this is a magnificent piece. I mean, it is going to be the gem of someone's collection. But the reason I say it at that, because now we're 10,000 backers on this. That is phenomenal. There's still 33 days left. To support this and get, oh my goodness, this is so cool. I just hope that I know somebody who gets one so I can lay my eyes on it at some point and just get to just soak it all in. But that's cool. We will definitely tune in to check out the what they've got to show off on this. So a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
I can't wait to actually, like you said, find out or chat with someone or actually get to see this thing in person. Going to be so much fun, just like it's always fun having the latest Star Wars news doled out to us by the likes of Mr. Tom Gross. Tom, thanks again so much for sharing with us the latest Star Wars news.
Oh, absolutely.
We are back, and Ross, both you and Andrew have done a wonderful job of explaining what it's like to fly a TIE fighter and the joy of not having any shields, but the speed of maneuverability. We're going to talk about the X-Wing, but before I jump into that, I joked earlier that my son said I was a noob, and for some video games, I certainly am. I feel like I reached a point in my life years ago where I suddenly thought, wait, I'm not good at these anymore. What is happening to me? But, it ended up having a happy ending. I kind of got the swing of things again. But if you are new to gaming or certainly piloting, historically I've never been much of a guy into piloting games. How is this for someone who is sort of new to this arena?
Come in being patient. Come in for the story and enjoy that ride. And there are practice levels for it, so you can go straight into the story. You can go to the missions, this and that. But almost like EA does for Madden when they're teaching you how to, connect with your wide receiver downfield.
Sure.
You need to get down those intricacies. So there is a way where, they drop you off you drop out of the hangar and there's 5 ties that you have to take care of. Or you can go against, 5 interceptors and 1 TIE bomber. Like they mix it up with different ways. And you get the opportunity to try the 4 different Republic ships that you have there. And I tried different. I loved the Y-wing. It was a little bit. It was kind of like me. It was like bigger and slower, but it had a little bit more power behind it. So
nice.
That's where I felt kind of comfortable. And it was slow enough where I was like, oh, I can get this right now. This is good.
At first, they're going to say that the Y-wing was friendly and cuddly, because that would be a good description of you.
Yeah. Well, I try to do that as well. It's the hairless Wookiee that I am.
There you go. Andrew, do you agree? Is this, if you are somewhat new to piloting, that it's got a nice learning curve to it?
Yes. Like Ross was saying, just be patient with yourself. You'll get it. It might just take a little bit of time, especially because they if you're just going to dive into the story, you start off with the standard X-Wing and TIE fighters, and those are good ones to start with because they're kind of the middle of the road. They aren't incredibly fast, but they also aren't incredibly powerful, right? You've got the B-wing bombers and the TIE bombers that are going to do a lot of heavy damage. You've got the A-wings and the interceptors that are really, really fast. And you've got the support ships, which are really interesting to play, where you're going around and you're just you're using ion cannons to stun the enemy so that the rest of your squad can destroy them. And you're going around and you're repairing your wingmates and giving them more supplies to use. So it's to start off with those middle grade ships is really good. I found that I tend to like the faster ships for some reason, which requires me to have more patience because I end up crashing into a lot of things a lot more. But I like to be able to. I'm impatient with getting where I need to go, and so I want those faster ships so I can keep up with with anything on the other side.
Sure, faster, more intense, as they say.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's very good. All right, so Ross, tell me about what it's like to tackle this game, Star Wars Squadrons, but from the perspective of the Rebellion or the New Republic.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know what? We just won Endor. We're supposed to be celebrating, right?
Yeah.
But there's a lot out there, and there are, you know, and I love what Freed does with the books, you know, and I'm better at the game already because I read the Alphabet Squadron books, at least in my mind, like subconsciously, I'm like, okay, this makes sense. This is what Chas would be doing. This is what Will would be doing. And some of the things that Andrew talked about in terms of, you know, this ship is supposed to disable the other one so another one can come in and shoot. So it really is that teamwork. And I haven't played any of the group multiplayer versions yet. I've only played solo. So that's fascinating to me as well. Like if you can get into that kind of community play a little bit more. But it's just super cool. And then knowing, you know, I haven't gotten terribly far through the game yet, but knowing, just seeing the cast that's involved. And, you know, I think Andrew touched on it a little bit, but I'm such a big Vanessa Marshall fan that seeing her having a credit on here and knowing that, you know, probably my favorite pilot in the galaxy is showing up as I earn the opportunity, that's super cool.
I love that. I think that's great. Andrew, anything you wanted to add about the Rebels and the pilots from the good guys?
I will say that I haven't done any of the multiplayer either, but I did do some of the where you get to do the multiplayer maps, but against artificial intelligence, just to see what it's like. And it definitely is. Each ship has a very specific role in those missions, and you need to adhere to that role, or your squad will not make it. So yeah, it definitely has a Alphabet Squadron vibe, because you aren't just a squad of X-Wings. You're not just a squad of A-Wings. You've got a mishmash of those, including the U-Wing, which is the support ship. Sure. And yet there's even a cameo by a very famous Rebel pilot that we see very briefly in The Rise of Skywalker, and it's actually voiced by that actor, which was a very happy surprise.
I would have expected
it. I'd love seeing that as well.
Well, that's cool. I didn't know that. Are these considered spoilers, or is this just kind of stuff that's in the credits or in the game itself?
It's out there now. So like IMDb has them listed. A certain good friend of CWK who goes by JAT is also a voice actor in it.
That's right.
That's very cool as well.
Playing a Trandoshan.
Yeah. And it's just, I mean, it's cool because there's new voices and not knowing, you know, how this is going to grow, you know, I'm always interested to see, are any of these characters going to come to life on Disney Plus, or any of them going to come, whether it's animation, whether it's actual, you know, live action, anything like that. And it, you know, Disney and Lucasfilm are casting such a wide net right now to get those different voices. And again, that kind of inclusion and diversity that the Star Wars universe really can offer, which I think is super cool.
And we need content, don't we? I mean, there's not going to be any movies for who knows how long, so adding more to the lore is always a great thing. Andrew, and we've mentioned a few times that suddenly you'll switch perspectives, where you're suddenly fighting for the light side versus the dark side, even though we're not really talking about the Force here. So is that jarring, or does it seem sort of like an organic place? Hey, it's time to fly a TIE now. Oh, hey, it's time to fly an X-Wing.
It's very organic. The way they do it, it's there's a briefing section between each mission. So, you start off and you're in the hangar of your capital ship, and there's a couple of squad mates around you that you can talk to just to get a little bit of their backstory, which is cool. And then you go into the briefing room and you get the briefing, and then you go and you fly the mission. And then once that mission's over, if it is something that then switches to the other faction, that previous mission leads right into the story that they're telling on the other side. So let's say you've got a mission where you have to destroy a platform, right? So you go out and you destroy the platform, and then there's a little cutscene, and then you switch sides, and you're hearing about the surprise of that attack and how you need to do better the next time when an ambush happens, that kind of thing. So it's very fluid when it goes from one to the other.
That's cool. Ross, do you have, while you're doing these back and forth, do you ever find yourself thinking, oh, I'd like to be in that TIE cockpit a little bit longer, or does it feel like this is a nice natural place to transition?
I think it is, like, again, like I am not the TIE pilot. I don't want to be one of the bad guys. I'd be a loner or a rebel. Like that's how that would go.
Yes.
But it's definitely, it forces you to be on your toes. And I love that part of it, where that lack of predictability, where right when you're just like, oh, I've got this X-wing down, or I've got this Y-wing down, and it's like, oh, welcome to a TIE. Now you've got to fight those ships that you liked flying better. So it's that really cool challenge that's there as well. And it's such a great, I guess, old-fashioned video game way. I don't know if you guys played I want to say it was Nintendo Hockey, when you could choose either the little skinny fast guy.
Oh yeah, that is Nintendo.
The middle
Hockey.
guy,
Yep.
or the fat guy that had the really strong slap shot.
Uh-huh.
Like these ships are right now, it's just, 10 light years ahead of time. So it's kind of that same concept of, okay, here's what I can accomplish flying this versus that.
What a great blast from the past, that hockey game. Oh man.
Oh, that was awesome.
I love that. So I've seen a little bit online. Of course, I don't dabble into negativity and stuff like that, but you can't help but see some of the criticisms, or that some people are saying the story is too short, or the game is too short. Are you noticing that?
Yes, and I just started to get that feel when I was playing earlier today, and I don't know, I'm probably 7 missions in maybe, and there was mention of our final objective is at hand or something like that. So I went out and I looked, and there was only like 12 missions, I think, in the game. So the story is definitely short. It's one of those things where I think it's come for the story, stay for the multiplayer. One of those situations. The flip side, though, is you look at the price. It's only $40, which is pretty cheap for video games these days.
Oh yeah.
So I think the story is short, but it's a good story. It's a lot of fun as far as I can tell so far. But just be prepared that it might be over kind of quick. It kind of reminds me of Battlefront 2 and the story that they have in that game, where it's pretty short. You come for that story, but then you stick around for all the multiplayer matches afterwards.
And that's the bread and butter of Battlefront to me. I mean, Iden Versio's story is great fun and fascinating, but yes, that's cool. Ross, do we have any characters the level of Iden Versio in this, or is it just more sort of for the grandeur and the excitement of being able to fly these amazing machines?
I mean, you get some of the character component in there. Like I said, like there are some big name actors that are involved in here, so you get a little bit of that. I don't know that it's not the same follow along that Iden was, but I think there are good parts of that as well, where you're getting different vantage points. You're hopping back and forth, hearing the Imperial approach versus the Rebel approach, and it's very natural and authentic in the storytelling that way. So I think that's solid, even if we don't have an Iden Versio to kind of follow the entire way through.
Sure.
Yeah, I think the story itself isn't as I'll say compelling as the Battlefront 2 type of story is, or the Jedi Fallen Order, and I think that comes from the fact that you are playing an unnamed character. So it's not really your story that they're telling. They're kind of showing you the story of these other characters through your vantage point, which is interesting, but it also kind of limits what they can do from a story standpoint.
Right. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. And real quickly, I want to point out that it's class-based, and there's 4 different starfighter classes that players get to choose from. You've got fighters, which is the TIE for the Empire, or the X-Wing for the Republic. You've got the Interceptor, which is, of course, the TIE Interceptor, or the A-Wing, and those are, of course, the faster ones. The Bomber, the TIE Bomber, and the Y-Wing, and then the support are known as the TIE Reaper and the U-Wing. As we're sort of closing down, gentlemen, Ross, do you have a favorite? I know you mentioned enjoying the Y-Wing. Are there any other of these ships that you like flying?
The TIE Bomber better than the TIE Fighter on the other side.
Slower?
Probably, again,
I'm
just because
assuming?
it's a little bit bulkier and, more my speed, at least as I get my feet wet, or I don't even know what the terminology for feet wet in space would be. But working towards that. But yeah, definitely the Y-Wing on the good guy side.
And okay, that makes sense. And then you prefer the TIE Bomber on the Empire side.
Correct.
All right. What about you, Andrew?
Definitely, I've always been a fan of the A-Wing. I just like the sleek look of it. So that's my go-to on the Rebel side. On the Imperial side, you might think I would go for the Interceptor because it's the comparable ship to the A-Wing, but I actually prefer the TIE Fighter. I feel it's a little bit more versatile and can do a little bit more of everything that you need.
That's cool. Well, I must admit, I'm certainly intrigued. The lower price point certainly helps. And I kind of like that while it may be a quicker game to get through, I sort of like that because then it's more digestible. I have less time to play. It's not as much as I would like to because of other obligations in different places. So knowing that I could conceivably meet all of the challenges and then still enjoy the multiplayer mode is appealing. Do you have to compete or complete certain missions to do the multiplayer, or is that just sort of already there for you?
I think you can just dive right into multiplayer to some degree. I think you have to first there's a little tutorial to teach you kind of the basics of how the multiplayer missions are laid out. There's different waves. You have to do the fighters, and then the smaller, capital ships, and then the big capital ship at the end, just to kind of teach you how to do that and how to get, how to get back to the hangar to swap ships and that kind of stuff. But once you've done that, you can go right into multiplayer. And as you do the multiplayer, that's where you get the points that allow you to buy little tchotchkes for your cockpit, like you can get bobbleheads and stuff to put in your cockpit.
That's cool.
To customize your view, which is kind of cool.
I love that. Now, Ross, you mentioned your Xbox, right?
Yep.
What's your game tag if people want to play against you?
It's actually Zor, ZSOR _Nobello, NOBELLOH.
Interesting. And we have on our CWK Cafe, which, as I mentioned at the top of the show, is how I knew to invite these two burgeoning pilots to the show tonight. Make sure that you guys post your game tags on there so Ross and Andrew can play against you or with you. And Andrew, are you Xbox also?
I'm actually on PlayStation.
Okay. And what's
and
yours?
My gamer tag is Sketty, so it's spaghetti without the puh, SGHETTI.
I love that. Well, when and if I do get this game, my game tag is Danzy CWK. How about that? Yeah.
That's good branding right there.
Yeah. Easy for me to remember, too.
The thing with this game is it does allow you to do cross-platform play as well.
Wow, I did not know. That's big.
Yeah, through the EA Play, you have to have an EA Play account, which is free to sign up, and then that's how it does the linking.
That is really good to know. I was not aware of that. Ross, were you?
Yeah, I didn't know either. Just because I haven't thought of PlayStation for so long that's what a great idea.
That's cool. So you two can, after the call, you guys can compete against each other. That'll be nice.
Bring it on, Ross.
I love it.
Not the TIE Fighter.
Very cool. Well,
You're it.
Gentlemen, thank you both so much for being on Coffee with Kenobi and talking about Star Wars Squadrons. You've certainly given me a lot of food for thought, and undoubtedly our listeners who are on the fence will be more compelled to do so because of what you both added to the story. So I thank you for that.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are, with Dan Z, the podcast you're looking for. This is...
That's going to do it for this week's show. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to have a cup of coffee with me and for helping to spread the word about our Star Wars family we've got here at Coffee with Kenobi. Be sure to tune in Monday nights at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live at www.coffeewithkenobi.com/live or www.facebook.com/coffeewithkenobi and have a cup of coffee, tea, or any beverage of your choosing with me as we continue the conversation. To join us in the CWK Cafe, which is our Facebook group, and share your Star Wars thoughts, comments, reviews, and opinions in a family-friendly, spoiler-free place that is also drama-free, go to www.coffeewithkenobi.com/community and be part of the conversation, talk about this week's show, or just talk about some Star Wars. It is a lot of fun, and you'll make some new friends as well as catch up with longtime friends along the way. I also want to thank all of the new and longtime members of the CWK Alliance and let you know how much I appreciate your help and encouragement. A big thank you to our CWK Alliance members, Mary Purdue, Terrence King, Smooth Rivera, Dan Capurso, Aaron, Jim Tallman, J.C. Poe, Ed Kimoto, Greg McLaughlin, Robert Avila, Dustin Mills, Yancey Evans, Chelsea Sansbury, Connie Shee, Tyler Pompa, Hannah, Alex Procasio, Ian Thompson, David Nicely, Simbot Deftradarian, Christine Turk, Kurt McKellen, Ross Hollebon, Dan Ream, Colby Mead, Alexander Moylan, Frank Mulder, Blake Weaver, Jim Capron, Chris Metz, LJ Souter, Aaron Harris, Chris Skavarka, Jeff Ellis, Daz Davies, Susan Gray, Thea Selby, Christian Dale, Brian McKinney, Jason Hall, Jared Cantor, Eric Struthers, Mark Suter, Angela Sauce, and Dennis Keithley. If you want to join the CWK Alliance, be sure to go to www.coffeewithkenobi.com/CWK Alliance and sign up today. Not only will you help out Coffee with Kenobi, but you also get access to CWK Pour-Over, the exclusive weekly podcast not heard anywhere else. It's a great way to support and help out the show, and 10% of your monthly contributions go directly to the St. Jude Children's Hospital to support the incredibly important work they are doing to help these brave children and their families. Plus, contributors at the CWK All-Star level can watch a video podcast of CWK Pour-Over hosted by me, Tom Gross, and Corey Clubb. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. In addition to being part of the community on Facebook, please don't forget to visit our website at www.coffeewithkenobi.com for Star Wars news, announcements, reviews, live video, and so much more. If you have a question for me or just want to share your thoughts on the air, please feel free to reach out to me at danz@coffeewithkenobi.com, and I'll share them on the show. You can also connect with me on Twitter at Mr. Zer, MRZEHR. There are also a lot of ways to connect with me and Coffee with Kenobi on social media. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Give us a like on Facebook at facebook.com/coffeewithkenobi, and check us out on Pinterest. You can find me twice a month on the podcast Looking at Lucasfilm, part of the Jim Hill Media Podcast Network, and you can find my writing on CWK's website, as well as StarWars.com, where I'm an official blogger there, as well as on IGN, where I contribute articles on Star Wars, as well as other popular culture topics. And if you're considering starting a podcast or a blog, let me know how I can help you get started and help you make your creative vision a reality. Be sure to check out danzmedia.com where we can get the process started. I'm also available to come to your school, conference, business, or organization to talk about how to tap into your strengths and help you bring out your very best. You can take that first step into a larger world. Thanks as always to our CWK sponsors, especially MEI and Mouse Fan Travel, our travel partner and your one-stop shop for all things Walt Disney World, Disneyland, the Disney Cruise Lines, or anywhere on the planet. Please go to www.coffeewithkenobi.com/mousefantravel to book your magical vacation and help support Coffee with Kenobi in the process. And don't forget to pre-order my brand new book that I wrote alongside Pablo Hidalgo and Cole Horton, the Star Wars book published by DK. Be sure to pre-order your copy of the Star Wars book today. I can't wait to share it with each and every one of you. If you like the show, please tweet out that you're listening, share it on Facebook, or invite your friends and family to tune in and share a cup of coffee with us. And if the Force is especially with you, please take a couple of minutes to rate and review the show on iTunes or Google Podcasts. Every review makes a huge difference and helps to spread the word. Go to iTunes and search Coffee with Kenobi and you'll see the show there. My circle of friends has grown so much because of this podcast and each and every one of you, and it means so much to me that we have such a wonderful Star Wars community. Thank you all so much for all you do. Andrew, please let everybody know where they can reach out to you if they want to ask you a question or say hello, and let us know what you've got going on in your world.
Sure. You can reach me on Twitter at Sketty79 and SGHETTI79. And if you look up SW Action News, that's Star Wars Action News, I'm occasionally a guest on there doing various things, unboxing videos of hot toys. I do some occasional quick builds of Lego sets that I get. So if you're interested in collecting and stuff, check that out.
I love it. And I may have to pick your brain about the proper angle to do these Lego builds, because Mason and I did one and it was a blast, but whew, it was an exercise in futility for me, I would say. Well, speaking of that, Ross is certainly no slouch to video. He, of course, did the video for us for Indiana Comic-Con and has done so many wonderful things for Coffee with Kenobi over the years. Ross, where can people reach out to you, continue the conversation, and let us know where your great work is these days?
Twitter at Ross Hollebon, all one word, ROSSHOLLEBON. And Instagram, my more Star Wars account is PopStarIndie, all one word. So those are going on there. And I just this week had a book review of Thrawn Ascendancy, Chaos Rising, posted on Fantha Tracks. So that is my most recent piece there, with Mark letting me contribute to the good guys over in the UK.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, well, it's a great site, great people, and I love it, man. I mean, you are a wonderful addition to the staff for sure.
Thank you so much, man. Thanks so much for having me. This was fun, and Andrew, hearing your expertise, I'm sure you will blow me out of the sky very soon.
Don't hold your breath on that. I crash a lot. That's how I take care of my enemies. I just crash into them.
Noted.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.